I've got my bubble of reality.
Yeah.
I have conditioning, and something happens in my experience that activates uh, something.
Yeah.
Um, I feel it. I've heard, I think the most recent time was in the last three continents discussion. Someone had mentioned this notion of there being no connection between the sensations and anything else.
Mm.
And when I hear that, I see this, um, I don't know the right word, this difference between, well, there is a bubble of reality that has conditioning that can be activated by something in experience, and yet there's no connection between sensations that arise around or that may be correlated with that activation and anything else.
Mm.
And so um, I guess I'm curious, is there a more subtle um, way of thinking about this or describing it
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to completely dismiss a relationship that also seems to be there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love your question. I really love your question. Um, the when we start out with working with the bubble of reality, it's very much about realizing that okay, everything I judge other people about is about myself. It's something that I cannot be in a body with. So I'm diverting from the icky thing that is happening here. I'm diverting over to them. So they should stop doing it. So I don't feel like this. We use the bubble of reality to become aware of that. And the more we immerse ourselves into the realization of the bubble of reality, the less we talk, because we realize that every time we open our mouth, every thought we have, everything we think we see, and everything we think we hear, it's not happening. It's happening in here. If you every single time that happens, if you just stay with that and you feel into it and you detach the thought about it and you sit with the sensory experience, and it might, bring another thought that creates another sensory experience, you detach the thought, you sit with the sensory, so you just stay with the trauma over and over and over and over. The memories that you have that are activated will start to fade, because the memories are only there to remind you of something that has not been heard. So the more you stay with it, the more all those memories are fading, which means that you will be left in a very, very quiet bubble. So somebody can say something and nothing arises. You see completely clearly that there's no connection between what they are saying and anything, because it's just quiet. Did that answer it?
I think so. What I'm hearing is that one thing that stuck out at me is that you had used the word detach, detach the thoughts, detach the stories. And so what I'm interpreting is that um, if something is activated
Yeah.
and that you've got these sensations and there seems to be some thoughts and stories that arise, that there may be a connection, a relationship um, in that moment.
There's
Okay.
the
And that is something that can be dissolved over time when you look into it when it arises. And so
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. You need to slow down. You need to slow down because you're having too many things staggered at the same time. Do you remember the last Q&A we had? I think it was Anna that had a question about being. I can't remember. Anna, I can't remember. Useful, stupid, useless. I think it was useless. It was useless. And then I said, but what happens? How does it feel to be useless? And she goes, but then nobody likes me. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That is another thought. Stay in the body. How does it feel to be useless? And then she was like, but I can't breathe. No, 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 no.
Mm.
That is another thought. How does it feel to be useless? So it was that pointing into the sensory experience, and you can only get into the root of the sensory experience if you detach the label useless, because useless has a flavor that is limiting the sensory experience. So you need to detach, you need to be aware this is useless. I feel how it feels to be in a body that is useless. Now I detach useless, and then I see where this is taking me. Oh, lots of things are happening. The moment you try to describe what is happening, you're minimizing the experience. Detach, away with that. Experience just this, and you will end up, well, uh, shaking and crying and all of that. And then it's just quiet. And then you can take useless in again and go like, nothing. Or you take useless in again and something else starts. Okay, off we go. Detach useless and then just experience is that what is happening. So it's that really coming back to the body, because the word is not it. It's the sensory experience that's it. The word is just, an indication of this is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to feel today. It's like when I in the meditation said family. That is enough to evoke, different experiences on so many levels, that whatever comes up, you just stay with that, stay with that, stay with that. But you need to detach the word family, because it's minimizing the experience. So to go back to what you asked, when something is arising in your body, you need to take it word by word. You can't have it like in full and then and then and then and then and then, because it's a post-it with a post-it with a post-it with a post-it. It's way too many post-its to deal with. So it needs to be one post-it first, feel it, let it arise, detach off with that, and experience what is going on. And when that calms down, take the next post-it.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Good. Did you want to add something?
Well, I was going to go just slightly different from the,
Off you go.
because I love all of that. But I was just going to say, generally speaking, when a lot of people come into this stuff, they don't have a lot of sensory awareness with the body. And we tend to think when you're experiencing anxiety, there's just anxiety. And it's like not really delineated as to what that even means. It's just, I'm angry, I'm anxious, and there's like no question about what that thing is, or if there's any sort of space between the one who is supposedly feeling it and the actual emotion itself. And so the first thing is breaking it down and recognizing that the feeling of anxiety is a thought about something that could potentially happen in the future and certain sensations that are happening in the body. And to your point, when we say that they're not connected, they do kind of simultaneously co-arise at a point, or seem like they're simultaneously co-arising. So you have a thought about tomorrow's presentation and the sensation in the stomach hits. And they do seem to be connected at first in that way. But as Pernilla was saying, the two are not, when we say that they're not connected, it's more of a pointer into the experience of recognizing that actually there is just a thought about a presentation and there is just sensation in the stomach, and that those two are not actually one thing. It's not one solid unit of anxiety. They might arise so fast together that we can't tell which one came first, but they're there, but they're not together. We can just let the thought go and recognize that there is just sensation in the stomach. And if we are not having the issue with, if I have no anxiety of public speaking, then I'm going to have a thought about tomorrow's presentation and my stomach feels totally fine. So the two things are not necessarily connected. And so that's what we point to when we say that there's no connection between them, because they aren't, but they do arise simultaneously.
And I just want to build on that,
Yeah.
because Todd, he's really, really good at finding, for example, let's say what you just talked about with presentation that is happening, anxiety that is happening, and then you're really good at asking into the experience, because what you normally find is that it's like there is, in that bubble that is in the body where anxiety is happening, it's just sensory experiences. But one of the sensory experiences that are happening is like a little bubble on its own, and that has a full life. So, and that is what you then do by zooming into that and really looking into that, because that sensory experience can have very, very subtle thoughts or images attached to it that we're not aware of. And that's what Todd, he does magnificently in his guidings, where it's really looking into, can't come up with anything, but you know what I mean, that there's like a little bubble that has its own life, with images, with conclusions, with assumptions, and all of that we're not aware of. We're not even aware of. And that needs to be looked into when we go into the body, into the sensory experiences. And that's why the one-to-ones with you are magnificent.
Thank you.
I always listen to the recordings because I love it so much.
But it's like, to what you were saying, it's like, if you have a thing about tomorrow's presentation and you feel this sensation in the stomach, if you go into that sensation in the stomach, you might have a quick flash of a time when you were in 8th grade and you had to give a class presentation.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, that was it. Well, no, that thing brings with it this whole other basket of emotions and sensations in the body that are being
Smell of
echoed.
lunchboxes and
Yeah,
yeah.
So there's all this stuff that is nested in that one brief little flash of an image that you get. And so then you can kind of dissect that. Well, why was that, a relevant thing to just come up 40 years later? And so, yeah.
And that is what I mean with that. It's like that little experience has a full life with images and assumptions and conclusions and all of that. And that's why it's so important to keep zooming in, slowing down and zooming in, because when we are using the post-its, it's really just diversions. It's just anxiety, and everybody goes, ooh. And nobody's the wiser because we haven't looked into the sensory experience of it.
Thank you. This is really helpful. One phrase that comes to mind in those moments for me, when there's the thoughts and the sensations, is this. I think this may seem connected, but it doesn't have to be. And then I let the thoughts go, and I'm with the sensations. And so this has been super helpful and clarifying.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Excellent.
And then when you look into it, see if there's another little bubble with a full little life. Yeah, amazing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Okay.